Hey guys, tonight we race stepping into one of the oldest cities on Earth. A place where gods shared streets with merchants, where temples held secrets deeper than the rivers. Where someone pulled off the cleanest heist in ancient history without leaving a single footprint. You're in Babylon, not the chaotic, crumbling image the textbooks give you, but the version that breathes under moonlight. The ziggurats glow with oil lamp halos, the alleyways twist like whispers, and the mud brick walls sweat stories that never made it onto scrolls. Somewhere in this version of the city, someone got in, and someone got out, and they took a lot with them. And hey, drop your location and local time in the comments. I love seeing where we're dreaming from tonight. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. It's late, most of the city's gone quiet, except for a couple of night vendors packing up their carts. A priest muttering prayers near a wall covered in faded cuneiform. You're standing just inside the temple district now. There's tension here. Not danger, just that tight-chested stillness that hits a place after something wrong has happened, but no one is ready to say it out loud. You catch wind of it as soon as you cross the threshold into the district. Something is missing. Sealed, in fact. Not just a hush in the air, but something deeper. The room is almost untouched. Stuff that's not just valuable, but holy. The central pedestal holds the ceremonial urn. The walls still bear the sacred murals, flaking just slightly under the weight of centuries. Like a gap in memory, the temple's massive gate is sealed, but a smaller side door is ajar. That's your way in. You duck through and follow the faint flicker of torchlight deeper inside. No mess. This temple is old even by Babylon standards. Layers of brick and time build over each other until the very walls seem to echo. You run your fingers along one and feel warmth, not from the air, from something else. Memory may be smooth. Like someone opened it with reverence, like someone knew exactly how to touch it. The vault chamber is up ahead. It's where they store the offerings, gilded bowls, sacred seals, coins pressed with the names of kings and gods. Here's the thing though, it's locked, or it was. You push the door gently and it swings open with a sigh that sounds too human. Others, they point to tablets describing the Rome that never lost a thing until once inside, even investing in green futures. Which means someone didn't just rob a god, they robbed the system. Curiosity almost. No drag marks, just absence. Not in the spooky ghost way, more like the story's watching you. Faint smell of something sweet and burnt like incense hiding a lie. Like the thief floated, or vanished, or was never there. There's a sense of symmetry that's off. You can't place it at first. The lamps are lit, but the chests along the back wall, they're open, empty. No sign of force, no shattered seals. You kneel beside one of them and run your fingers along the edge. And then you notice something that makes your scalp tingle. Dust. A fine layer across the floor. Everywhere, except near the chests, no footprints. Slowly, historians still argue whether this kind of temple vault, one without trap mechanisms, was even used at this time. Some say it's a later legend. Your pulse quickens, not fear. It's one thing to read about a perfect crime, it's another to stand in its echo. Here's your mainstream fact for the section. Babylonian temples were not just religious centers. They doubled as banks, storing wealth, holding loans, and now the room seems smaller, heavier. You're not alone. No, a breeze flutters past your shoulder and snuffs one of the lamps. You turn, but there's nothing. Just along, and then you hear it. Not a sound. Not really. Just the idea of one. Like footsteps that stop before starting. You stand, whatever happened here. It's not done with you yet. You step back from the vault and let the silence settle in. Kind of silence that doesn't just fill a room, it presses against your skin. Like static, like expectation. The mundane hum of the living world carries on, utterly unaware that something sacred just slipped out of reach. Outside, Babylon exhales. Somewhere in the distance, a lyre is plucked lazily and a donkey brays in protest. Approach cautiously, your sandals kicking up whispers of dust. Inside, the guards play a quiet game of dice, the flame between them barely illuminating their bored expressions. You duck out of the temple and follow the alley that snakes past the outer wall. The night air is cooler now, crisp, alive. There's a guard post nearby, tucked into a narrow nook behind the grain market. You ask about the temple, their faces change. One stiffens, the other older, tired, just sighs. He tells you in that world-weary tone only men with secrets use that something was taken. The temple had guards posted all night. No sounds, no shadows, no alarms. But not what, not how, not by whom. The weird part, no one was seen entering or leaving. And here's the kicker: when the high priest arrived in the morning, everything looked untouched until it didn't. You press gently, they shake their heads. No footprints, no broken locks, just open chests and missing offerings. It's the talk of the district now, but no one's saying it aloud because you don't accuse the gods of being robbed, not in Babylon. Offerings weren't donations, they were nourishment if something went missing. It wasn't just theft, it was blasphemy, or worse, a sign that the gods had turned their backs. Here's your mainstream historical tidbit in Mesopotamian culture. A temple wasn't just a building, it was a living thing. But that's not what this feels like. This feels surgical, like someone who knew exactly what to take. Inside, rows of shelves lined with clay tablets, each etched with cuneiform so small it makes your eyes ache. And how? The older guard tells you something else, almost in a whisper. 3 nights ago, he says, someone came asking about temple blueprints. He nods. Old ones, buried deep in the archives. And now they're missing too. You head there next. The Babylonian archive isn't some grand library. It's a squat, sunken building that smells like mildew and forgotten truths. You ask the archivist, an old woman with no time for nonsense, about the missing blueprints. She narrows her eyes and gestures to a shelf half empty. Most modern historians think it was just a clever acoustical trick. Gone, she says. Checked out. By whom? She shrugs. No name, just a seal. One I didn't recognize. You study the shelf. Tiny clay slats mark where tablets should be, and one of them has a smear fingerprint shaped, still faintly tacky. You touch it. It's warm. Of course it is. Quirky detail time. Some Babylonian archives had a whisper room, a chamber where priests could consult sacred texts in silence, believing the gods would echo back if the room stayed still enough. But standing here now, it doesn't feel like a trick. Others say it's all fiction born from later myths. It feels like someone came here not just to steal, but to listen to something old, something watching. You leave the archive with more questions than answers. Who stole the blueprints? Why weren't the guards alerted? And why did the vaults thus stay untouched? Historians still argue whether Babylon had secret underground channels beneath its temples. Some say yes, used for moving offerings without risking public processions. You're starting to wonder if the thief used one, or something even older. As you walk back through the temple district, a young boy runs past you, nearly knocking you over. He drops something, a coin. Not just any coin, an offering coin, one minted for temple use only. You call after him, but he's gone. You pick up the coin. It's cold, and it hums, just once, then goes quiet. You hold it tighter and look around. The alley behind the temple is empty again, except now you see it. A set of stones slightly off color, like something underneath tried to hide. A trapdoor. No, smarter. A hatch, flush with the street. Almost perfect. Almost. You kneel beside it, brushing away sand, and the wind picks up. Sharp, like a warning. But you're already pulling, and the hatch gives, revealing stairs. Old, dark, waiting. You glance back once. The city continues, blissfully unaware. Then you step inside, and the silence follows you down. The stairs are stone, worn but not crumbling. You run your fingers along the wall as you descend, feeling the soft curve of age and purpose carved into every step. This place wasn't built in a hurry. It was designed, hidden, used. The hatch above closes on its own, or maybe it was the wind. It's fine. You're used to things sealing behind you now. The air shifts, damp like old cloth left in clay pots, and quiet, not just soundless, but hushed, like even the air's holding its breath. A few more steps and you find the floor. It stretches into a corridor barely wide enough to walk shoulder to shoulder. You move forward, the coin still clutched in your hand, the weight of it growing not heavier, just more important. Your footsteps are swallowed by dust. You pass unlit sconces, strange engravings, and alcoves that look like they once held statues now empty. You start to feel like you're walking through a story that is trying very hard not to be remembered. And then you hear it, a shuffle. Soft, Too soft for footsteps. You stop. Silence. You wait. Nothing. You keep walking. The corridor opens into a chamber. Round. High ceilinged. There's a well in the center sealed with a circular stone lid. You know that kind of seal. It's not meant to keep things out. It's meant to keep things in. You approach, half expecting it to hum or glow or whisper. It doesn't. It just sits there. Solid. Watching. Black is carved above it. Not in cuneiform. In something older. Something you don't recognize. But records mention a few note chambers, rooms with no assigned purpose, often left off maps. Some say they were holding sites for cursed objects. Others think they were places where knowledge was buried, not metaphorically, literally, but you can read it anyway, not with your eyes, with your bones. Let the forgotten remain. You step back. Mainstream detail here. Ancient Babylon had many subterranean structures, cisterns, storage chambers, even tombs. This feels like one of those. You walk the edge of the room. No doors, no hidden levers. Just dust and that coin in your hand until you notice it. An indentation in the wall. Coin-sized, of course. You press it and nothing happens. Then the floor shifts. Like you're walking into a memory someone tried to fold and tuck away. Slow, deliberate. Like it's thinking about whether to trust you. And a section slides open. Behind it, a passage. Not wide, but walkable. You go in, and everything tilts, not literally. Carvings spiral along the walls in patterns that don't repeat. Not quite like a song stuck between notes, but the space itself narrow, damp, yet somehow angled. Path twists. Turns, doubles back, and then light. Not torchlight, moonlight. You blink. You're in a chamber open to the night sky, hidden beneath the city. How? You don't ask anymore. You just step out. It's quiet. Ruins surround you, not Babylonian, older, pre-temple. And in the middle, a pedestal. Empty. Dust circles around it in perfect swirls. Whatever was there, whatever belonged, it was taken carefully, precisely. This is where it was stolen. This is where it began, and sitting in the corner, almost lost in shadow, is a satchel. You walk over, touch it, soft leather, fresh. You open it. Inside, a rolled parchment, partially unsealed, a small jar of black powder, and a single sandal. Tiny, child-sized. You feel it before you see it. Someone else was here. Recently. You look round. The air changes, cooler. Breeze that shouldn't be here. On the far wall, a symbol glows. Briefly, then fades. It's not cuneiform. It's not any language. It's an outline of the temple. You trace it with your finger, and it shifts, revealing another chamber, smaller. Inside, footprints. Finally, someone left a trace. One set, barefoot, and right next to them, heel prints, tiny, matching the sandal. They walk together, side by side, right up to the far wall, and vanish. No door, no exit, just gone. You turn back to the satchel, unroll the parchment. It's a map of Babylon, but it's wrong. It shows things that shouldn't be there. Passageways beneath the river, spiral staircases descending into wells, arrows pointing to places that no longer exist. One arrow leads to the temple, one leads here, and one points outside the city walls to the desert with 2 words. Scratched beside it, they return. Fringe theory time. Some archaeologists believe Babylon's network of ziggurats, temples, and underground tunnels weren't just architectural. They were astronomical, aligned to track certain stars, seasons, or celestial events. But there is a weirder idea too, that the structures were built to echo or amplify sound, memory, voice, and that some thieves didn't steal for gold but for resonance. You sit down, parchment in hand, sandal beside you, coin gone. Somewhere above you, Babylon sleeps. But you're starting to think this story isn't about what was stolen. It's about why. You don't move for a while. The map lies open across your lap, fluttering slightly in the cool breath of this impossible chamber. Candlelight, if that's even what it is, flickers without source. You're not sure what time it is anymore, or even if time's passing in a straight line. But you do know one thing now, and you finally have. You're being led. Not by force, not by threat, but by invitation. Like someone's been waiting for you to remember the right order of steps. You tuck the parchment into your cloak, grip the sandal gently, and retrace your way through the last passage. When you get back to the well-sealed chamber, it's different. The plaque's message has changed. Now it says, take nothing, carry what remains. A riddle, a warning, a dare. They held symbolic weight, removing them marked holy ground, swapping them sealed agreements, and losing one admit the story wasn't finished. You leave the satchel, but you keep the sandal, because it doesn't feel like a possession, it feels like a clue. As you make your way back up the corridor, another whisper of mainstream history slides into your mind. In ancient Babylon, shoes, especially sandals, weren't just practical. You climb the last steps and open the hatch. The night has shifted, still dark, but with that electric quiet of a world right before something wakes up, you find yourself back in the alley behind the temple, the one that shouldn't exist, yet clearly does. You step out and someone's waiting. Not a person, a cat, jet black, eyes like tarnished bronze. Perched atop a crumbling column, it stares at you for a full, unsettling minute, then leaps. A fan walks away, stops. You pass a baker's oven long cooled, a mural of Ishtar faded by time, and a well that looks deeper than it should be. Looks back. You follow. Of course you do. Cat waves through the old quarter, past broken walls and stories carved into stone. Then the cat stops. The walls painted in patterns so old they've turned to shadows. A broken archway overgrown with vines and fake roots. It slips through. You follow inside another room, circular, lower than the others. And in the center, a single display, a glass box, modern, impossible. Inside, a scroll with your handwriting, but not from now. From later, it's dated 2 weeks from today. You read the first line, out of place, modern looking, perfectly shaped, unaged, theories, time slips, ancient timekeeping experiments, or something weirder that memory itself can leave a physical trace if the conditions are right. She warned them, and suddenly everything inside you buzzes with wrongness or rightness. Depends how you look at it. Fringe detail incoming. Some researchers have found artifacts in Mesopotamian digs that sing. This feels like that. You glance around. No guards, no alarms, but also no exit. The archway's gone. Just a smooth wall now. You turn back to the scroll. Read the second line. She walked backward to find the door, and you laugh. Because, of course, you step backward. 1 step dot to dot 3, and the wall opens again. It doesn't slide. It just forgets to exist for a second. You step through. Outside again. The cat's gone, but the sky is different. Not night, not quite morning. That hazy in between where everything's quiet but not asleep. And there, standing by the dry fountain you passed earlier, a man, old robe, sandals, hood low. He nods once, then turns and walks. You follow, I know, again with the following, but by now you're too far in for stubborn pride. He leads you to a small courtyard. Empty. He stops at the center, then points down. You look. There's a symbol etched into the stone. Same one from the satchel map. The one pointing to the desert. He speaks. Finally. It's waiting. His voice sounds like wind in an old jar. Where? He points west. Where it always is. Cryptic much. But he pulls something from his sleeve. A tiny jar. Same black powder from the satchel. He hands it to you. Says only for when you see the second moon. Then he walks away. Doesn't vanish. Just blends into the city like a memory dissolving. You pocket the jar. Look to the west. Nothing but city walls. And the idea of sand. You head back toward your inn. Need supplies. Water. A compass that won't lie. Historians still argue whether the Babylonians ever believed in a second moon. There are strange texts, to be sure, references to a hidden twin or shadow moon. Most think it's poetic metaphor. You're starting to suspect otherwise. Back at your room, the owner gives you a long look. You look different, she says. You nod. I remember more now. She nods too. Good. And slides a package across the counter, wrapped in fig leaves and tied with red thread. Your name written on top. Not your current one. The one you've forgotten. The one from the scroll. Inside, another map. Not of Babylon, of the desert. And scribbled in the corner, she'll meet you where the sky breaks. You sit and let that settle. Because suddenly, this story isn't just about a thief. It's about who she was stealing from and why you were meant to follow. You leave before sunrise, not dramatically. No secret escape. Just a quiet walk through still sleeping streets. Kind of walk where your sandals whisper over dusty stone. And the world hasn't fully decided what kind of day it is going to be yet. The sky is bruised. Purple and honey orange, the air cool but warming fast. You cross the edge of Babylon proper and head toward the west gate, where guards sit slumped on stools, rubbing their eyes and pretending not to notice you. One does glance up, not to stop you, just to see if you're real. You nod once, he nods back. Thorny trees, the occasional abandoned shrine or broken road marker. The dessert doesn't start immediately. First there's scrub, dry grass, but then the sand begins, and the silence. Not the absence of sound kind of silence, like someone's been watching since long before you arrived. Kind that presses on your chest and makes you feel like someone's watching. You glance down at the map again. There's no marked path, just a line, a faint arrow pointing into nowhere. You walk. The dunes roll on endlessly, gentle at first, then sharper, like teeth. Mid-morning now, and the heat rises fast. Your shadow clings close, unwilling to stretch just yet. Old Man S voice echoes in your head again, for when you see the second moon, you look up. One moon, bright, regular, but that's not the moon he meant. The jar in your satchel shifts, you check it, but one tablet fragmented and dismissed by most speaks of a mirror moon, never visible in the same sky, a twin hidden in plain sight, still sealed. Hear whispers in a language your ears don't know but your blood recognizes. You drink slowly, ration your water like you were taught in the academy you never attended, still humming faintly. Mainstream history footnote here. Babylonian astronomers were among the most advanced of the ancient world. They charted stars, predicted eclipses, named constellations. Fringe believers think it's metaphor for hidden knowledge. You're not so sure anymore. By midday, you're hallucinating or maybe just remembering too much to fast. You see shadows move across dunes without casting them. Then, something flickers on the horizon, not a mirage, not heat shimmer, something architectural. You crest the next dune and stop. There it is, a ruin, half buried, small but precise. Stonework that doesn't belong in sand, a single archway, part of a larger building now lost. And beside it, a woman, sitting, not waiting for you, just sitting. The sand's hot, but not unkind, as if she's been here longer than the building itself. You approach carefully. She looks up, nods, then says, "You're late." You blink. "Do I know you?" "No," she says. But she did. You sit beside her. She offers you a piece of dried fig. You eat it without thinking. Then she pulls something from her satchel, a sandal. Your sandal, compared to the one you found in Babylon. You don't ask how she has it. You just hold out the one you carried all this way. She matches them together. They fit, not just each other. The space between you two. That confirms it, she says. What? She points to the sky. And there it is. The second moon. Not above, not below. A shimmer across the sand. Perfectly round, dark. A shadow moon cast onto the earth. Your breath catches. The woman stands and takes out the jar. The black powder. She sprinkles a line of it across the sand between you both. Then lights it. The flame crawls not fast, not slow, steady, until it hits the base of the arch and reveals a staircase down. Historians still argue whether desert ruins can ever be fully mapped. Dunes shift. Time varies. But there are stories off the record of stairs leading below temples no one built. The woman gestures. You first, of course. You descend into the dark. It's cool underground. Blessedly so. But it's not just the temperature. It's the feeling. This isn't a tomb. This is a vault. And it's not locked. It's listening. At the base, a chamber. Walls covered in carvings. Some you recognize from temple mosaics. Others you've never seen before. And in the center, a table with a cloth, and under it, a body wrapped, preserved, undisturbed. The woman joins you, pulls back the cloth. You stare. It's her, Leia, but not as a corpse, as a statue, perfectly carved, life-size, laurel crown. One sandal missing. The woman says, "You know what this is, don't you?" You shake your head. "I don't know anything anymore." She smiles. "Exactly." Then she places the twin sandal at the statue's feet and something clicks. The eyes open. You don't scream. You should, maybe, but you don't. Because the statue doesn't move, at least not in the traditional way. It's not like the stone suddenly shifts or comes alive like some overused myth. No, it's subtler than that. More like recognition filtering through from somewhere deeper than. Flesh, the eyes open, yes, but not like eyelids parting. More like glass becoming transparent. The woman beside you lowers her head reverently, not to the statue, to the memory of it. Now that you're really looking, you see the faintest breath escape the statue's lips. Not steam, not mist, a soundless exhale of something older than language. You whisper without knowing why. Is she waking? The carvings on the walls glow faintly one by one, like someone is reading them from behind. No, the woman says, she's remembering. The chamber feels closer now. Not shrinking, just leaning in. You step forward, not afraid, but not entirely sure this is happening in your body anymore. At the statue's feet rests a scroll. The woman too. The jar is gone. Just you now, and the statue, and the scroll. You pick it up. It's heavy, older than any parchment you've held before. Made from something not quite papyrus, not quite skin. And when you touch it, it unrolls itself. Line after line of words spill out, all in a script you've never studied and somehow completely understand. You read aloud, not because you want to, because the scroll needs to be read. The thief did not take gold. He took silence. The vault was not meant to keep, but to forget. She came not for answers. She came to become one. Each line hits like a memory you didn't live but still flinch from. You kneel, not out of reverence but gravity. The story is heavier than your bones. And still, you read. She left the footprint no one could erase. She stepped backward through time until time forgot to run. She waits only for the one who listens loud enough to make silence crack. And then your name. Not the one you go by. The real one. One no one said in centuries. The scroll burns. A chamber hidden beneath sand and stone where silence itself was recorded. Most scholars call it poetic nonsense. But those who go looking tend not to come back, or worse, come back too quietly. Not into flames, into dust, instantly, and the room exhales. Mainstream historical nugget. There is a legend in some Mesopotamian text barely translated that speaks of a vault of witness. You turn back to the statue. It's not stone anymore. It's her. THALEIA. Real. Still. Eyes open. Breathing, but not moving, waiting. You step closer. Kneel again. And then her voice finally breaks through. Not loud. Not even spoken. Just placed gently into your head. You carried it far, she says, but not for long enough. You open your mouth. No sound. Just tears. She doesn't comfort you. Just watches. Then says one more step. The ground beneath you softens. Not collapses. Not crumbles. Just yields. And you're sinking. Into sand. Into sound. Into her memory. Everything swirls. Not like falling. Like being inhaled by the story itself. You see flashes. A child running across stone mosaics. A hand slipping a sandal into a jar. A mouth whispering to a wall that listens. A vault ceiling shut. Pair of eyes that refuse to close. You land on stone again, but it's not the same room. It's not the same world. It's a city, Babylon, but not as ruins, alive. You're in the middle of a bustling street wearing the clothes of someone who belongs. You don't question it, you walk, because that's what the story wants now. To be seen through, to be lived forward. Quirky twist, there is a theory among French historians that certain spaces in the ancient world weren't just sacred, they were recursive, meaning they didn't preserve history. They replayed it over and over until someone remembered it the right way. You pass the temple again, the market, the alley. You recognize it all, but it's different now, sharper, more intentional. And at the end of the path, the old man, same corner, same box of sandals. Except this time, he looks up and says, you forgot something. He hands you the jar. It's full again, but not with black dust, with silence. Real, physical silence. You can feel it. Waiting. What do I do with it? You ask. He smiles and says, leave it where you found the question. You turn and know exactly where to go. You're running now, not in fear, not with panic, with purpose. The streets part for you like they remember your footsteps. The stone under your soles feels almost eager, like it's pulling you forward, like it's been waiting. You're not holding the jar anymore. It's holding you. You feel its silence in your chest now, tucked between your ribs, beneath your heart. It doesn't weigh you down. It grounds you. You reach the temple, the same one, but it's not crumbling now. Its whole towering, Sunlight catches on polished bricks and copper trim, making the entrance blaze like an invitation you can't ignore. You walk in, every whisper dies instantly, because you're carrying silence, and silence doesn't like competition. Inside, the priests turn to look, but only for a moment. Then they bow, not to you, to the memory they think you are, the Pythia, the Leia. But you're not her, not exactly. You keep moving, passing through the inner sanctum like it's always belonged to you, and maybe in some version of time it has. You reach the center, the old days, the place where the vault once was will be still is. Time doesn't work right here. You kneel and lower the jar into the hollow. You don't speak, you just breathe, and the jar accepts it, seals itself, and with it, the silence that isn't just absence of sound. It's the weight of all unspoken truths. The lid clicks shut. For the first time since you stepped into the story, you hear it. A song soft, ancient, human. No instruments, just voices. Not in harmony, but in memory. The priests begin to hum. The walls begin to glow not with magic, but with names, yours among them, the Leias. A dozen more you suddenly remember. Like old friends visiting in a dream you only just woke up from. Mainstream myth check. There has an old Babylonian custom mentioned in one obscure scroll of returning silence to the gods at the end of a journey. Scholars debate whether it referred to literal silence or confessions, or something deeper like the resolution of a soul's wandering question. No one's agreed. But the temple this scroll describes, matches one unearthed in 1883. The vault was never found. The floor, however, had a shallow hole sealed tight with wax. You rise, not because it's over, because it's begun. Again, the world flickers. The temple fades. You're in the desert. Hot, still, night now. The jar is gone. The hum remains. You stand at the edge of a camp. Nomads, caravans. They don't look up, but you know they feel you. You walk through the tents until you reach one set apart. It's small, worn. Inside, a woman, older, wiser, reading a map that doesn't have lines. Only names, you, or thalea, others. She looks up, sees you, smiles like you're the final note of a song she started years ago. You brought it back, she says. You nod. Did it help you? Pause. Then answer. It reminded me who we are. She laughs gently. No one else will remember. That's not the point, you say. We do. She folds the map, hands it to you. It vanishes in your palm, like it was already written somewhere inside your blood. And then she says, now you hold the silence, and you'll know when to pass it on. You walk outside. The stars are brighter now. The desert doesn't feel empty. It feels full of things unsaid, and all of them safe. Quirky twist for the road. Ancient caravanners used to tell tales of a desert oracle, a figure who could hear footsteps that hadn't happened yet, and speak truths in a language only remembered by wind. No evidence this person existed, but the maps, they had footprints, in ink no one could trace. You crouch in the sand, draw a small circle, then a line, then 3 dots, just like on the scroll. It's not a symbol, it's a whisper for the next one, because someone will come looking. And when they do, they'll find this, and they'll know where to begin. You wake up to voices, not around you, inside you. They're not words, exactly, more like intentions, feelings shaped like sentences. They tug at the corners of your awareness, guiding you without pressure. You open your eyes. The desert is gone. You're inside. Stone walls, wood beams, low light, the smell of dried herbs and parchment. You're in a library. Not just any library. The library, the one Leia vanished into, the one the scrolls kept referencing. You stand slowly. There's no door, no windows, only scrolls, suspended in webs of gold thread that don't feel like silk but memory stacked shelved. A scroll floats down into your hand, blank, until you blink. Then the words appear, not written, etched, burned gently by time itself. They tell a story you haven't told yet, yours. And as you read, you remember it. All of it. Not just Delphi. Not just the jar. Not just the Leia. But the in-between places. The quiet decisions. The hesitations. The almosts. The ones you skipped when the story first started. They're here now, and they matter more than you thought. You look up, and someone is watching you. Not the Leia. Not a stranger, a child. Wearing desert robes. Laurel in her hair. She smiles, points to another scroll. You walk over. This one isn't yours, but you know it by heart. The words are older than the language. Symbols mostly, but they mean, I stayed so you could find me. You feel the emotion hit before the thought arrives. The Leia didn't vanish. She became the question, and you've been answering it, one footstep at a time. It contained dozens of scrolls, all blank at first glance, but under certain humidity and light. Faint etchings emerged. No one could read them, but the pattern was unmistakable. Concentric spirals, just like Delphi's temple floor. Mainstream oddity in 1931. A team of explorers found an underground chamber near the ruins of an unmarked Greek outpost. The girl offers you a mask. Olive wood again. Different this time. This one's smiling. You take it, and suddenly the library vanishes. You're back on the stage. The amphitheater again, full now. Not with people, with presences. You can't see them, but you feel them, waiting. You put on the mask and begin to speak. You don't know where the words come from, but you do know who they're for. You speak of loss, of silence, of remembering forward. And when you finish, the air sighs. Like a story that's finally been heard all the way through. You take off the mask. The stage is empty. Only the jar remains. No longer sealed, now glowing inside a single feather, black and white. You laugh softly, because of course, the birds, they've been here all along, watching, guiding, listening. You take the feather and tuck it into your satchel. It hums once, then quiet. You step off the stage, and the path opens. You know where it leads now, but you're in no rush, because this isn't an ending. It's a handing over. You turn. Someone stands at the edge of the temple. New. Young. Eyes wide. Lost. You nod and toss them the mask. They catch it. Look at you. You smile. Start walking, you say, and you disappear into the light. Mainstream tidbit for the nerds still listening. Some oral traditions in early Mediterranean civilizations believed that roles like oracle, scribe, guardian weren't jobs. They were recurring identities. You didn't become the oracle. You remembered you already were. And when it was done, you passed the memory on. And that's what you've done now. The memory lives. The story continues. The voice, it's not yours anymore, but it's still listening, always. It begins with rain. Much just a few drops tapping the stone like a soft warning. But in this story, even the weather has memory. And you've learned not to ignore the small things. You glance up. The clouds above Delphi are rare, slow, heavy, gray like forgotten thoughts. They don't rush. They hover. They watch. You're no longer where you were. You're somewhere near, but not quite. A reflection of a place, maybe. A memory's echo. And in front of you, the tower. You recognize it instantly, even though no one ever described it. A lighthouse. Not coastal deserted. Not tall tired. Built on rock, leaning into the mist like it's listening. You step closer. Dust floats in lazy spirals, each speck of frozen breath. The stairs curl up without invitation. You climb quietly, every footstep muffled like you're walking on someone else's memory. The door is open. Inside, it's warm. It smells like wax and rust. At the top, a room small circular. A window in every direction. And in the center, you can hear thunder, but it's the kind that sounds more like a heartbeat than a threat. A journal unopened waiting. You sit down. The light outside is fading now. The clouds press closer. You open the journal. First page, a name you don't recognize, but it feels like it could be been yours. The entries are short, simple, but they cut deep. The light isn't for the ships. It's for her. The sea doesn't take. It trades. She left her name behind on purpose. The handwriting changes midway through. Still familiar, still precise about how some stories are told not to be believed but to be felt. It's the Leia's. She writes about the voice, about remembering what silence feels like before it's broken. There are records, vague ones, of towers maintained inland with no water nearby. Just light, ritual beacons, some claim. Others dismissed it as bad translation. But you're here now, and this one glows even in the rain. And then one line, underlined 3 times, the light always returns. Historians still argue whether lighthouses in ancient Greek territories ever served symbolic or ritual purposes beyond navigation. You run your fingers across the final page. There's no writing, only an indentation, the shape of a coin. You read reach into your satchel. It's still there. Your coin, not flame. Your name. You press it gently into the page. It clicks. The window shutters swing open on their own, and the room brightens. It's here now, circling back to where it started, but not from outside, from you. The coin hums, the journal lifts, and the light spills upward, not fire. Memory, rising like smoke through the tower, reaching out. You close your eyes and breathe it in. Every word you've spoken, every step you've taken, every question you didn't dare ask. The journal floats back down. Now blank again. Reset. Ready. You close it gently, place it on the ledge, and walk to the window. The view is endless. Mountains, shadows, a sliver of ocean on the farthest edge, and a bird, just one, flying slow circles over the stone. White wings, black tips, like a signature in the sky. You raise your hand. It doesn't land, just lingers, then glides off slow and deliberate toward the next question. You smile. Tower begins to fade behind you. It's not needed anymore. Some said if you watch closely, the light post with a heartbeat. Not warning, welcoming. Its job is done. You step outside. The rain has stopped, and so has time. Only for a moment, just long enough to whisper, you found the light. Quirky fact to anchor you back down. In some old mariner's legends, the lightkeeper wasn't always a person, it was a role passed between spirits. You keep walking toward the next shadow, toward the next glow, because the story doesn't need an ending. It just needs you to remember and to keep the light on. You follow the path without thinking now, not because it's easy, but because it feels inevitable. The air carries a charged stillness, like something's waiting just around the next bend. Not danger, not promise, just something known. Your boots crunch on loose gravel, and beneath that, you sense old marble worn flat by centuries of pilgrims, seekers, electric, ancient, and wanderers who came looking for gods but left with questions. Ahead, the land drops off, a cliff, and below it, the sea. You hadn't realized how close it was until now. Maybe it wasn't close before. Maybe it moved. The wind here tastes different, Brittany, like a mouth waiting to be filled with words again. You sit at the edge, legs dangling into nothing, not fire, and then you notice it, a flicker, far down the cliffs, almost tucked into the rock itself, a cave blue, like the memory of moonlight. You don't hesitate. It takes time to get down, long enough to rethink every decision that brought you here, but not long enough to turn back. The cave entrance yawns wide, it's cold, and dry, which makes no sense this close to the water. Inside, but you've given up on sense. There's light, stone, carved, with symbols that shift every time you blink. Torches, glow, soft. It pulls near the back, revealing an altar, and in the center of the altar, 3 objects. A lantern, a key, a lock of hair. You pick up the lantern. It's unlit, but it hums when you hold it. The key fits into a hidden groove just beneath the altar. You turn it. The ground shifts. A compartment opens. Inside, a cloth bundle. You unwrap it slowly, carefully, and there it is, another scroll. But this one isn't old. Familiar handwriting. It's new, still warm, like someone just finished writing it. You unfurl it. It's addressed to you, not metaphorically. Your name, whichever one you've remembered, written in. Clean, the sea didn't take them. They stepped into a deeper calling. You blink hard. There's more. They heard the voice too. And when the storms came, they didn't run. They opened the door. You pause. Mainstream history says the Eilean were lighthouse keepers vanished in 1900. 3 men. No. Struggle. No evidence. Doors locked. Clocks stopped. Just gone. Theories range from rogue waves to madness. But none explain the untouched meals, the missing oilskins, or the final chilling log entry. The storm is over. The sea is calm. God is over all. You read on. The scroll shifts tone. Becomes a guide, a memory. Lightkeepers don't fear storms. They become the light. When the world forgets, they remember. You reach the end. But there's a note, folded, tucked into the corner. You open it. It's a map. Not to a place, to a moment. Marked with a symbol you've seen before, etched on the coin, burned into the scrolls, whispered in your dreams. 3 circles, no slash. Just infinity. You turn the map over. On the back, 1 line. When the sea calls your name, answer without sound. Quirky fact. In some sailors' folklore, silence during a storm was sacred. To speak was to summon. To whisper was to call. That is why some old lighthouses were designed without internal echo so the keepers couldn't hear their own fear reflected back. You step away from the altar. The lantern in your hand flickers once, then again, and suddenly it's lit not fire memory. You lift it high, and the cave opens further. New steps, descending, not into darkness, into glow. Path meant only for those who don't ask where it leads. You take the first step, then the second, and the lantern hums, it remembers. So do you. You descend. The steps are worn but sure, carved into the very bones of the island. Each one is slick with sea mist, yet you never slip. It is as if the path remembers you, like the rocks have been waiting for your weight to return. The lantern hums louder now, a low, steady vibration that resonates in your chest more than your ears. Not sound memory, not fire presence. You count the steps without meaning to. 42, 60, 87, and then it opens. A chamber, not natural, not entirely man-made either. It's somewhere in between, like it was carved by time. Itself shaped by storm and whisper. In the center of the chamber, a pool, not water, light, still shimmering, almost liquid. You kneel beside it, holding the lantern over its surface. It responds, glowing brighter, like an old friend recognizing a face it never thought it'd see again. And then you see them, reflected in the pool, the lighthouse keepers. 3 of them, not ghosts, not illusions, memories, the third younger. With ink-stained fingers and a half-smile that doesn't quite fade. One tall and lean, with weathered hands. One broad-shouldered, his face calm, eyes sharp. They're not afraid. They're not gone. They're waiting. You lean closer, and the water moves. It doesn't ripple. It shifts, reveals something beneath its surface, a key, identical to the one you used before but smaller, finer. And a note, written on parchment that hasn't aged a day. This is not your ending. It's your echo, but no theory accounts for the calm final log, or the stopped clocks, or why experienced men left without their coats in freezing weather. Mainstream history tends to flatten mysteries. Theories for the Flananile's disappearance range from a sudden wave sweeping them into the sea, to cabin fever, to abduction. You lift the small key from the light. It's warm, and it sings, just once, but enough. You rise and look around. A door has appeared, not visible, not built, just there now, like it always was, but only for those who remember how to look sideways. You approach. The handle is shaped like a lighthouse. You insert the key. It clicks. The door opens. Beyond it, wind, but not storm. Not this time. Gentle wind, carrying salt and sound. You step through, and you're back, but different. The lighthouse stands before you now, whole, not ruined. Its beacon glows steadily, rhythmically. It doesn't rotate, it breathes. And you realize it's not guiding ships, it's guiding stories. You step into the doorway, inside. It's silent, not empty, just listening. The stairs spiral up, lined with lanterns like the one you carry. You ascend. Each step echoes softly, like your feet are speaking a language the walls understand. Halfway up, a window. You glance out, and the sea is calm. Not just calm, still, like it's waiting. There's a desk at the top, simple wooden, with another scroll. You unroll it. It's not blank, but the words aren't ink. They're light, and they shift as you read. You catch fragments when the wind forgets your name. Remember the silence. She called us one by one, not with voice but with absence. The fire inside the lighthouse isn't fire, it's memory. Historians still argue whether the final entries in the Eileen Moore log were real or embellished. One theory suggests the original logs were lost and later reconstructed for dramatic effect. But whether truth or fiction, they always carry that same chilling line. The sea is calm. God is over all. You close the scroll. Behind the desk, the beacon turns to face you. Literally, it's no longer just a light. It's an eye open glowing watching. You don't flinch. Instead, you nod, and it blinks once. Then the room brightens. Voice yours, but older speaks. You are the keeper now. Not of light, of silence. The lantern you carry dims, then extinguishes, and still, the lighthouse stays bright, because now it remembers through you. You remain still, allowing the weight of that title keeper of silence to sink into your bones like salt air. It's not a job. It's a presence, a role passed down not by ceremony or name, but by echo. Beacon no longer watches, it rests, trusting you to carry what matters. You descend from the tower slowly. This time, the stairs don't creak. They're quiet, respectful, like the walls are listening, but no longer asking. At the bottom, the air is different, warmer, less storm, more still. The door opens without touch, and outside, the lighthouse keepers stand waiting, not ghostly, solid, weathered. Sure, but here, they don't speak, neither do you. There's no need. They each carry something small. Tokens. One places a stone in your palm, smooth, black, volcanic. Another hands you a scrap of cloth embroidered with a simple spiral. The last gives you a feather. Just a feather from a bird that doesn't live here. You close your hand around them. They vanish, not disappear, just settle dot inside, as if they were always part of you. Then the keepers nod, not in farewell but in transfer, like they've passed a baton that was never meant to be seen. They turn and walk toward the sea. You think the water will swallow them, but it doesn't. They reach the edge and dissolve into light. 3 points like stars, and above you in the sky, 3 new constellations pulse faintly where before there was only darkness. Mainstream astronomy insists no new stars have appeared in our skies in modern times, but in 1901. To amateur stargazers in the Hebrides logged a bright formation visible. For only one night never recorded again, their notes mention 3 lights over the sea, unmoving. As if waiting to be seen, you step down the cliffside path again. The rocks don't grow now. You feel it in your steps. It's no longer abandoned. They welcome you. Every curve of the island has shifted slightly. Spirals, waves, eyes. It's awake, alive. Listening, you reach the shoreline. The tide is out, revealing a path of wet stones leading toward a cove you don't remember seeing before. But you follow it, because that's what you do now. You follow what listens. The cove opens into a hidden chamber naturally carved, lit from within by bioluminescent algae clinging to the walls in intricate shapes. At the center of the chamber, another scroll. Dry, waiting, you kneel, and this one isn't in your voice, it's in theirs. The words read, you found the silence, now keep it. Speak only when the sea forgets. Below that, a hand-drawn image. The lighthouse, yes, but split down the middle. One side real, one side mirrored. The caption, one light for the living, one for the lost. Historians still debate why the Flannan Lighthouse in its first few years was plagued with system errors and mechanical failures no engineer could explain. Some blamed faulty construction, others suspected sabotage. A quiet minority believed the island itself rejected the new light. Until it was calm, you roll the scroll and hear something soft from the far wall. Heartbeat, not yours. The wall shifts, reveals a door. Again, always a door. Behind it, not storm. Not sea, but a small room. Candlelit, wood paneled. A journal rests on the desk, and next to it, a photograph of you. Not current you, but you standing on the island years ago, smiling, wearing the keeper's coat, and beside you, the Leia. Of course, you stare, because why not? At this point, disbelief is just bad manners. You flip the journal open. The first page reads, "This isn't the beginning, it's the reflection." You turn another page, and the candle flickers. The ink glows, the room exhales, and you're not alone. Behind you, a whisper, "Do you remember yet?" You don't turn around right away, not out of fear, but reverence, like opening a letter from someone long gone and not wanting to rush the moment. You just listen, to the hush, to the breath behind the voice, to your own heart slowing like a pendulum that's finally found center. Then you turn, and she's there. Of course she is. Not the Leia, not exactly, but the shape of her, the idea of her, the one that's been following you all this time, not haunting, just waiting, holding space until you remembered how to fill it. She wears the keeper's coat too, except it fits her like it was always hers. Her smile is half recognition, half apology. "Bit late," she says. You nod. "Just in time," you answer. She gestures to the chair by the desk. You sit, and she doesn't. One of those slow, habitual movements people do when they've lived alone too long. You know the kind. You've done it yourself, especially in places where silence isn't a threat but a companion. She paces, just a little. "I stayed because they didn't," she finally says. "The others, they left." The keepers, she shakes her head. No, the watchers, you pause. The watchers of. Her eyes flick toward the window. The sea is gone now, replaced by stars. Uneven claim that the Flannan light was misaligned from all known shipping routes, but perfectly aligned with an obscure constellation Lacerda, the lizard. All stars, no horizon, no waves, just sky, endless. They came. Before the storms, she whispers. Before the light, they left messages, not in bottles, in echoes. Mainstream fact interlude, there is a theory among certain French folklore scholars that some coastal lighthouses were built not just for sailors, but for signaling celestial paths. You look down, the journal has changed, not pages now, reflections of moments, your moments. Standing at the edge of cliffs you've never visited, lighting lamps you don't recall touching, singing lullabies in languages you've never learned. Each image flickers like a candle in a cracked mirror. Did I do this, you ask? Some of it she shrugs. Why? Because you're a keeper. A pause. Not of lighthouses, she clarifies. Of what then? And now she kneels. Right in front of you. Takes your hand. Places something in it. Cold, heavy, a key. Simple brass. No markings. You don't ask what it opens. You know better now. But she answers anyway. Your silence. The journal shuts on its own. The candle goes out. The stars outside begin to move, not twinkling, drifting. Then shapes, then words, forming lines. One word. Return. You glance back, but the lay is gone again, not lost. Just folded into the dark. You pocket the key and rise. There's no door this time, only a passage, softly glowing with that old familiar light, the kind that doesn't blind but beckons. You follow. The air changes. Warmer. Sandier. You step out, not onto stone, but into desert. A desert. The kind you don't walk through. You remember. You dream through. You're in North Africa now, but not the one on maps. The one that lives in stories whispered around fires with no beginning and no end. Ahead. A caravan. Waiting. Camels. Lanterns. Soft music from a reed flute that somehow knows your heartbeat. One figure waves you forward. Another familiar silhouette. Not the Leia, not you, but both at once. You approach, but don't speak. She hands you a water flask, then gestures to the horizon. The stars there glow blue. A signal. The sea forgets, she says. But the sand remembers. You climb onto the back of a camel and the caravan moves. No one speaks, because the desert doesn't like questions. It just answers. They claim the stars changed when watched too closely. Instead, they relied on bone memory, the tingling in your knees that told you which way home was. When you're ready, quirky trivia, an ancient Moroccan oral tradition, some guides refuse to carry compasses. You glance back one last time. The lighthouse still stands, but it's part of the stars now. You smile, because silence doesn't mean nothing. Sometimes it's the loudest thing in the world. You ride through the silence, no wind, no chatter. Just the rhythmic thud of hooves against sand and the occasional jingle of brass from the camel's harnesses. You don't know how long it's been, minutes or hours or centuries. Doesn't matter anymore. Time here doesn't tick, it breathes. The stars shift as you move. Not fast, just enough to keep you oriented. Path of light etched into the sky like breadcrumbs made of memory. The caravan halts. The guide who isn't quite you turns her head. We walk from here. You dismount. Like the desert's been waiting for you, keeping this patch in shadow just long enough. The sand is cool beneath your feet, surprisingly so. Ahead, a dune. Nothing special, just taller than the rest. At its peak, a single object. You climb, step by careful step. At the top, you see it. A lantern. Old. Rusted. Not lit. You kneel beside it, brush away the sand. It's warm, even though it hasn't burned in ages. You lift it gently and the flame inside flickers to life without spark, without oil, like it recognized you and wanted to help. The others below don't move. They're waiting. You hold the lantern high. The desert responds, not with light, with sound, a low hum, the same pitch as your heartbeat as the Flannan lamps glow, as the hush in the tower before the storm. It builds. Not loud, just full, like the universe is clearing its throat. And then a memory, not yours, not yet, projected onto the dunes like a film made of dreams. You see the keepers again, all three, sitting around a small fire, laughing. unstrums a lute. Another passes a flask. The third just watches the stars. This isn't the disappearance. This is before. This is the night they knew. One of them maybe Donald whispers something will leave the coats behind. Let them wonder. The others nod, not in fear, in relief. They'd made peace with it. The departure wasn't a crisis. It was a choice. They weren't taken. They stepped sideways. You lower the lantern. The memory fades. The sand forgets again. Mainstream moment in the original 1900 Flannan Isles report. It was noted that the keeper's coats were still hanging on hooks inside the lighthouse. Most assumed they left in a hurry, but some now believe it was ceremonial as shedding of robes, like monks removing robes. You descend. The dune. The guide your reflection in motion smiles. Ready? You nod. She hands you a parchment. You unroll it. Another map. But this one isn't of land. It's of moments, drawn like constellations. Each dot is a choice you've made. Each line, a memory you carried. And in the center, the lighthouse. Not drawn, etched, burned into the paper. Permanent. At the bottom, a phrase. She didn't vanish. She lit the way from the inside. You clutch the map to your chest. The wind picks up, just slightly. Enough to lift grains of sand and turn them into shimmering patterns around your feet. Patterns that form letters. Letters that form one final message. Return the voice. The lantern dims. Pure event fades dot in you. You wake. Not in a lighthouse. Not in the desert. But somewhere quiet, still. Back in the now. A place you know. Your own bed. But not the same now you left. On your nightstand, the journal still open. But the page has changed. One word has been added, written in your handwriting. Stretch, remember. Waking up in a dream, especially in your own bed, might mean the dream isn't over. Just paused for remembering, still, full, or maybe it never was. Quirky side note, there is a growing body of dream researchers who claim that false awakenings aren't glitches but doorways. You sit up slowly, walk to the window, breathe in deep. Outside, the stars hold their shape. The lighthouse is gone, but the silence still here. And now you know what to do with it. You stand just at the horizon, because now you know, and whisper, thank you. The wind answers, not in words, but in warmth, and the faintest glow. You smile. You weren't searching for them, you were waiting for you. It builds not loud, just full, like the universe is clearing its throat. And then a memory, not yours, not yet, projected onto the dunes like a veil made of dreams. You see the keepers again, all three, sitting around a small fire, laughing. One strums a lute, another passes a flask. The third just watches the stars. This isn't the disappearance. This is before. This is the night they knew. One of them maybe Donald whispers something will leave the coats behind. Let them wonder. The others nod, not in fear, in relief. They'd made peace with it. The departure wasn't a crisis. It was a choice. They weren't taken. They stepped sideways. You lower the lantern. The memory fades. The sand forgets again. Mainstream moment in the original 1900 Flannan Isles report. It was noted that the keeper's coats were still hanging on hooks inside the lighthouse. Most assumed they left in a hurry, but some now believe it was ceremonial as shedding of robes, like monks removing robes. You descend. The dune. The guide your reflection in motion smiles. Ready? You nod. She hands you a parchment. You unroll it. Another map. But this one isn't of land. It's of moments, drawn like constellations. Each dot is a choice you've made. Each line, a memory you carried. And in the center, the lighthouse. Not drawn, etched, burned into the paper. Permanent. At the bottom, a phrase. She didn't vanish. She lit the way from the inside. You clutch the map to your chest. The wind picks up, just slightly. Enough to lift grains of sand and turn them into shimmering patterns around your feet. Patterns that form letters. Letters that form one final message. Return the voice. The lantern dims. Pure event fades dot in you. You wake. Not in a lighthouse. Not in the desert. But somewhere quiet, still. Back in the now. A place you know. Your own bed. But not the same now you left. On your nightstand, the journal still open. But the page has changed. One word has been added, written in your handwriting. Stretch, remember. Waking up in a dream, especially in your own bed, might mean the dream isn't over, just paused for remembering, still, full, or maybe it never was. Quirky side note, there is a growing body of dream researchers who claim that false awakenings aren't glitches but doorways. You sit up slowly, walk to the window, breathe in deep. Outside, the stars hold their shape. The lighthouse is gone, but the silence still here. And now you know what to do with it. You stand just at the horizon, because now you know, and whisper, "Thank you." The wind answers, not in words, but in warmth, and the faintest glow. You smile. You weren't searching for them, you were waiting for you. It builds, not loud, just full, like the universe is clearing its throat. And then a memory, not yours, not yet, projected onto the dunes like a film made of dreams. You see the keepers again, all three, sitting around a small fire, laughing. One strums a lute, another passes a flask. The third just watches the stars. This isn't the disappearance. This is before. This is the night they knew. One of them, maybe Donald, whispers something. Will leave the coats behind. Let them wonder. The others nod, not in fear, in relief. They'd made peace with it. The departure wasn't a crisis. It was a choice. They weren't taken. They stepped sideways. You lower the lantern. The memory fades. The sand forgets again. Mainstream moment in the original 1900 Flannan Isles report. It was noted that the keepers' coats were still hanging on hooks inside the lighthouse. Most assumed they left in a hurry, but some now believe it was ceremonial, a shedding of robes, like monks removing robes. You descend the dune. The guide your reflection in motion smiles. Ready? You nod. She hands you a parchment. You unroll it. Another map. But this one isn't of land. It's of moments, drawn like constellations. Each dot is a choice you've made. Each line, a memory you carried. And in the center, the lighthouse. Not drawn, etched, burned into the paper. Permanent. At the bottom, a phrase. She didn't vanish. She lit the way from the inside. You clutch the map to your chest. The wind picks up, just slightly. Enough to lift grains of sand and turn them into shimmering patterns around your feet. Patterns that form letters. Letters that form one final message. Return the voice. The lantern dims. Pure event fades, in you. You wake. Not in a lighthouse. Not in the desert. But somewhere quiet, still. Back in the now. A place you know. Your own bed. But not the same now you left. On your nightstand, the journal still open. But the page has changed. One word has been added, written in your handwriting. Stretch, remember. Waking up in a dream, especially in your own bed, might mean the dream isn't over. Just paused for remembering, still, full, or maybe it never was. Quirky side note, there is a growing body of dream researchers who claim that false awakenings aren't glitches but doorways. You sit up slowly, walk to the window, breathe in deep. Outside, the stars hold their shape. The lighthouse is gone, but the silence still here. And now you know what to do with it. You stand just at the horizon, because now you know, and whisper, "Thank you." The wind answers, not in words, but in warmth, and the faintest glow. You smile. You weren't searching for them, you were waiting for you. You step outside, barefoot. The ground is damp, not from rain, but from some older kind of memory, like the earth just finished dreaming and hasn't shaken it off yet. The horizon is waking up, not fast, just slow enough for you to notice every subtle shift, the way the stars start whispering instead of shouting, the way the air begins to taste more like beginning than ending. You still have the map, the one from the dune. You carry it loosely now, like a scarf over your shoulder. It doesn't feel fragile anymore. It feels like something that grew with you. The wind nudges you forward, not a push, just a suggestion. So you follow down the path behind your house that you've walked 100 times, but never with this quiet kind of purpose. And as you walk, things start appearing, not out of nowhere, from memory. The bell from the lighthouse, half buried in the grass. The gloves, one pair, perfectly folded. A journal page tucked into a low-hanging branch, fluttering like a prayer flag. They're not evidence, they're echoes. Proof not of a story ending, but of one still humming under the surface. You turn a corner and see the edge of a cliff, and beyond it, a beam. Not bright, not piercing, just steady. like someone lit it from within the fog. You approach the edge. There's no tower dot, no rocks, just the beam, and it moves as you move, following you like an eye made of warmth. You sit, cross-legged, map in your lap, the journal beside you. Open, blank. You flip a few pages back. There it is, the beginning of all this, scrawled in your sleepy handwriting. 3 keepers vanished. No signs, no struggle. You exhale, soft, like you're letting go of something that didn't want to be held anymore. And then you write again. Not a theory, not a summary, just this. They stepped sideways, and they left the light on. You close the book. The light remains. The beam doesn't fade. Instead, it shifts gently until it's pointing behind you. You turn. Another figure stands at the path's edge. Not startled, just waiting. A younger version of you, maybe. Or maybe someone else entirely. They nod. You don't speak. You just hand them the journal. They accept it, without question, like it was always meant for them. The wind changes again, this time from behind. And the beam, it splits, not into pieces, into paths. Dozens of them, all heading out into the dark, lit faintly, enough to see the first few steps, not more. Because that's the point, right? If you could see the whole road, you'd never take the first step. In some places, it was believed the light could even call back the souls of sailors who drowned, helping them find the shore in spirit if not in body. Mainstream anchor, maritime legend says that lighthouses weren't just built to prevent wrecks, they were also built to guide those already lost. You smile, not sad, not triumphant, just present. You pick a path, not at random, but without fear, and step forward. The grass bends softly, the light stays behind, and for the first time, you realize it isn't following you anymore, because it doesn't need to, because now, you're carrying it. So, here you are. The journey's over, but not finished. You've walked through stone corridors and stood inside a tower where silence meant more than words. You've wandered sand and salt and stars. You followed clues not because you needed answers, but because the act of following mattered more. You carried the question all the way to the end. Let it settle into your breath, into the weight of your bones against the bed, into the soft rhythm of the night. Maybe there's a fan humming. Maybe the wind is brushing against the window. Maybe it's just your own pulse, quiet and steady. And maybe that's all that really mattered, that you carried it, that you listened. You remembered what so many forgot. Let that question rest with you now. And now you get to let go. There's nothing else you need to do. No answers to chase. No endings to explain. Just this moment. Just this breath. Whatever dream decides to find you next. You've done enough. You've remembered enough. And the lighthouse, it's still out there. Or maybe it's already inside you. Either way, the light's still burning. So close your eyes now. Let the story settle. Let the silence deepen and sleep. Sleep soft. Sleep steady. Sleep as if you never forgot. Sweet dreams.